A child journeys far from home, fearful and brave, in need of safe harbor. Guided by this chalice, may we seek to understand the causes of flight, like the comfort of a candle flickering in a window of darkness. Let us welcome this child into our home with warmth, nourishment, and love. Would we not want the same for our own child, lost and alone in a strange land? As is our custom, if you'd like to come and light a candle for whatever reason, personal or private, please do so while we sit in stillness, listening to the prelude. Please stand in body or spirit for our chalice lighting and our spoken affirmation. Verily, with hardship comes ease, from the Quran 94, 5 through 6. Lighting this chalice may feel difficult today. This symbol of justice, known to be a light of hope for the marginalized, a message of sanctuary for the oppressed, a flame that feels lost or diminished somehow. How do we rekindle this fire of compassion? How do we rekindle this fire of mercy? A famous verse within the Quran tells us that with hardship comes ease. With hardship comes ease. We welcome the ease, O God of justice. We welcome the ease, O Spirit of love. We welcome the ease and rekindle this flame from our fears, our tears, our quiet suffering, from our collective prayers for those who cry for freedom. We welcome the ease and rekindle this flame on behalf of those who feel abandoned and betrayed. We welcome the ease and rekindle this flame for all of the children who ask, why can we not live in peace as other children do? May lighting this chalice today, no matter how difficult it may feel, help us to rekindle compassion and mercy within the deep crevices of our hearts, so that we can, once again, bring justice and hope to a world struggling to find its humanity, struggling to find its soul. Join me as together we remind ourselves of the affirmation that is a cornerstone of our free faith. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This we are great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to help one another. Please be seated. Our opening thought this morning is Being Sanctuary by Jovan Rue and Lynette Lowe. Welcome to this space, this sanctuary of peace, where we come to not only create our best selves, but to also do the work of creating a beloved community. We come together today as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, sizes, and colors, all of which are broken with imperfect, jagged edges, but always beautiful. While our pieces may not always fit neatly together, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our principles, that we gather together to create a beautiful mosaic. May the brokenness and beauty you find in one another create peace in this space and fill our hearts with love as we create worship together. Our first song this morning is a selection from a wonderful man, Michael Gott. He is the head pastor at Unity of Houston. And this wonderful song says a lot to me. Shine through me.
Let me be a candle, let me be a radiant star, let me be a beacon, shining who you are, let me be the miracle I've been dreaming of, let me be a lantern of your love. Shine through me, shine through me. Let the light within me help this troubled world to see. Shine through me, shine through me. Use this willing vessel, Holy Spirit. Shine through me. If a friend grows weary, I'll come and take his part. If a child is hungry, I'll give out of my heart. In the darkest hour, I will lend a light from above. I will be a lantern of your love. Shine through me, shine through me. Let the light within me help this troubled world to see. Shine through me, shine through me. Use this willing vessel, Holy Spirit, shine through me. Shine through me, shine through me. Holy Spirit, shine through me.
And this reading is And How Are the Children by Patrick T. O'Neill. Among the most accomplished and fabled tribes of Africa, no tribe is considered to have warriors more fearsome or more intelligent than the mighty Maasai. It is perhaps surprising, then, to learn the traditional greeting that passes between Maasai warriors. Kasarian Injera, one would always say to another. It means, and how are the children? It is still the traditional greeting among the Maasai, acknowledging the high value that the Maasai always place on their children's well-being. Even warriors with no children of their own would always give the traditional answer. All the children are well. Meaning, of course, that peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young, the powerless, are in place. That Maasai society has not forgotten its reason for being, its proper functions and responsibilities. All the children are well means that life is good. It means that the daily struggles for existence do not preclude proper caring for the young. I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our own children's welfare if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question. And how are the children? I wonder if we heard that question and passed it along to each other a dozen times a day, if it would begin to make a difference in the reality of how children are thought of or cared for in our own country. I wonder if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, felt an equal weight for the daily care and protection of all the children in our community, in our town, in our state, and in our country. I wonder if we could truly say without any hesitation, the children are well. Yes, all the children are well. What would it be like if the minister began every worship service by answering the question, and how are the children? If every town leader had to answer the question at the beginning of every meeting, and how are the children? Are they all well? Wouldn't it be interesting to hear their answers? And would it be like, I wonder? We have practices in our UU church, and we suppose by Stephen Schick. Suppose you cried 1,000 years for a child who died when she drank bad water. Suppose you organized a great movement to clean the water. Suppose you carried the first filled glass to the child's sister. Suppose you lifted it to her lips. Suppose you watched her dive into the glass, splash, and swim on. We are offering a moment of silence and musical interlude. And this is by a lovely woman out of California named Karen Drucker. And it's a song that I think is very appropriate for this morning called Listen to the Children. Listen to the children, listen to the children, listen to the children, 'cause they're the ones who know. Listen to the children, listen to the children, listen to the children, 'cause they're the ones who know. Listen to the children, 'cause they're the ones who see all of the life, beauty, and love. The children hold the key. They can teach us how to live the world through eyes of peace. When we listen to the children, then we'll see. Listen to the children, listen to the children, listen to the children, 'cause they're the ones who know. Listen to the children, 'cause they're the ones who hear all of the joy, music, and laughter. The children have no fear. They can teach us how to be the world of God who's near. When we listen to the children, we will hear. Listen to the children, listen to the children, listen to the children, 'cause they're the ones who know. Listen to the children, listen to the children, listen to the children, 'cause they're the ones who know. Yes, they're the ones who know. Yes, they're the ones who know. Our speakers today are from CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocate. Maureen Kane Stevenson is a mother, wife, volunteer, realtor, and recruitment officer. She's outreach coordinator for CASA at Grayson County. Marla Shaver is advocate training specialist, and we would like to present these gifts to you as you take the podium. Thank you.
These are great. Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for welcoming us. And Jan, thank you for building this around children, because that was very touching, and we really appreciate it. Almost made me cry on the suppose. And that's true. How are the children? Well, the children are not all well. And that is why we are here with Court-Appointed Special Advocates of Grayson County. We come into play when a child has been removed from their biological home for suspicion of abuse or neglect. And from there, we get involved when a child is removed from their home. A judge will appoint a CASA to that child, to their case. Now, CASAs are volunteers, and they come from all walks of life. I believe the only true requirement is that you pass a background check and you are 21 or older. I'll have to ask Marla every now and then, because she's our trainer, and she's been doing this for longer than I have. So CASAs are specially trained, and they go through 30 hours of training That sounds like a lot, but Marla can tell you that we break that up into manageable bites over a few weeks. CASAs will speak up for what's in the best interest of the child who's in the child welfare system. Oftentimes they're too young to do that on their own. So a judge will rely on testimony from a CASA who can say, I've been in touch with the biological family. I've been in touch with the foster family. Of course, they've been in touch with the child as well. Maybe the child's teachers, the child's counselors, even the child's doctors, just to get a well-rounded picture of what's going on in the child's life. They're compassionate adults who provide that special attention, and they are always speaking up for what's right and what's in the child's best interest. So we were founded back in 1977 in Seattle by a judge who recognized that these kids were coming in, their cases were coming in, and he didn't really know the child. So the idea was to get his friends to come in and get to know these kids. He roped his friends in. That's what I try to do with all my friends too. He roped them in to get involved and to get to know the child and then present that child's best interests to the court. We went national in 1982, and in 1993, we were established here in Grayson County. So what are our goals? We want to make sure, first and foremost, that the child has their basic needs met and they are safe. Meeting with the child, like I talked about, to get involved in the case and find out what is happening in the child's life. Then report to the court on what you discover. Our goal is always reunification, for the child to be reunified with their biological family. That's what the child is generally going to want most often. Sometimes it's not possible. And then we have to do our best to try to find a safe, permanent home for that child. Working with CPS, working with the court. Well, not CPS anymore, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So we also want to help in that process by directing the biological family to resources that can help them get their child back. This is a little bit about what a child can go through.
No one would believe me if I told them, but it's true. Dragons sleep most of the time, but you never know when they'll wake up. You can't relax, not even for a second. If you have a dragon in your house, you need to be good at hiding. I'm a really good hider. You need to figure things out for yourself, because you're not supposed to talk about dragons. Not with anyone. At first, I tried to do everything right. I tried to be so quiet. I tried to be perfect. I thought, maybe if I didn't mess up, if I made myself so small, even made myself disappear, the dragon wouldn't hear me. Maybe he wouldn't even wake up at all. But no matter how quiet, how small I tried to be, the dragon would always hear me, and he would always wake up. Being quiet didn't work, so I got loud, pretending I wasn't scared, pretending I was just as tough as any dragon. But pretending is just pretending. Nothing worked. Nothing could make it stop. That's when I realized it must be something wrong with me that dragons hate. When dragons wake up, they're angry. They want to hurt. Sometimes it leaves a mark. Sometimes it's a hurt you can't see, that you don't even have words for. Those are the worst of all.
That line was the 30-yard line. No, with only one timeout left, they needed to watch the clock at this point.
Let's tell you to clean this
Away
up!
from me! Get back!
Like that smile off your face!
Have you been?
Sometimes I wish I was a dragon. I'd let out all the things that hurt, all the things that don't make sense. I'd burn down everyone, burn down everything. But I'm not a dragon. I'm a little girl. And I'm all alone. I don't remember what they said when they came. I just remember thinking, when something's broken, when you can't fix it anymore, when it's no use to anyone, you throw it away. If you've never fought a dragon, then you wouldn't understand. You can't just leave. You can't just run. A dragon will always find you. A dragon will always hurt you. And the more a dragon wants you, the less anyone else will. New faces, new places, new dragons to watch out for. They wouldn't listen even if I could tell them. I know it's true, because they never ask. Of all the things I tried, nothing helped me stop the dragons. Not even a little bit. But maybe the most important thing in fighting dragons is not doing it all by yourself. Maybe you need someone to help you through all the confusing things. The things that might seem scary at first, but can actually help you get far, far away from any dragons. Someone who sticks up for you, even when you're not there. Someone who knows where you came from and what you've been through. Someone who's on your side, not just when things are easy, but when they're hard too. Maybe you'll see that dragons aren't waiting for you around every corner. Maybe they don't live in every house. Maybe it's not even your fault they're so angry. Maybe you can stop hiding. Maybe you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to make yourself small. You don't have to always be ready to fight. because there will always be dragons. But there will always be brave heroes, too.
Okay, if y'all are crying like me now, so how are the children? That's the question. But I think that video, it touches us because we realize that we can be the hero. All it takes is getting involved and getting to know that child and standing up for that child, right? We can be the ones that bring that first clean glass of water to the child. Whew. Man, am I emotional this morning or what? Okay, so as you saw, that child, she showed up at different doors of different homes, right? Well, that's because on average, a child in the foster care system is going to change homes an average of 4 times. So not only are they first pulled from everything that they know with their biological family, but then they may change homes 3 more times. And that depends. Each case is different. But in that case, it could mean going to a different school each time. Not only going to a different family, but changing schools too. On average, a child's going to spend about 1.5 years in the foster care system. And so that's why it's so important for these kids to have a CASA throughout the process, because that CASA is going to be with them the whole time. Their caseworker may change, their school may change, their family may change that they're staying with, but their CASA remains the same. And that's why we ask the CASA to stay on for the duration of the case. Y'all may know the population of the city to our south is about 45,000, right? So look at the number of children that were in foster care in 2022. That's almost the population of Charmin. So when you think about it in those terms, all of a sudden it becomes real and very big. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. This is something that I'm going to have Marla speak to a little bit more in depth, but you have probably heard of CPS. They are the Department of Health and Family Protective Services, right? Am I getting that right? Right, DFPS. The CPS is part of DFPS. And so CPS is changing. The system, the foster care system, is going from state-run to a private company. So this does not necessarily mean a bad thing, but it does mean change, and it means turnover. And so when there's turnover happening with caseworkers, DFPS, CPS workers, to the new company that's taking over, we want to make sure that CASA is there to be there with that child throughout that transition so that nobody falls through the cracks and each child is accounted for and taken care of. That's why it's so important right now as this change happens that we have the CASAs in place to help the kids through. You guys know this. I was listening to your mission. You guys are all about caring for the community, caring for one another. So this is probably nothing new to you. But the benefits of volunteerism, they're good for everybody. It's good for the volunteer. It's good for whoever they're volunteering to help. And what I thought was interesting about this survey done by Texas State University is that it doesn't matter truly your wealth. Everybody's going to benefit. But actually, the lower wealth volunteers experience a greater gain, apparently, according to this study. Personally, I think everybody benefits. But so what are the results? A child with a CASA volunteer is twice as likely to find a safe, permanent home. A child with a CASA is less likely to reenter the foster care system, and they are more likely to succeed in school and achieve permanency sooner. Makes sense, right? Because that's what your CASA is helping you to do, find a safe, permanent home. In 2022 in Grayson County, we had 43 CASA volunteers helping children. We had 132 abused and neglected kids who had CASAs. But there are too many. I believe we've got between 15 and 20 kids right now who do not have a CASA. So that is why we are here. We are reaching out to you because even if you don't have the time or don't feel that it's something that you're called to do, you may go out and talk to somebody and say, hey, I heard from CASA this morning. Here's what they do. And somebody might be interested in doing it. Although we hope you are. To give a child a CASA volunteer is to give them a voice. To give them a voice is to give them hope. And to give them hope is to give them the world. Yeah. So how you can get involved if this touches your heart is you can volunteer. And that's as easy as going to our website. And we have left brochures galore for y'all. And of course, you can always reach out to me or to Marla, and we've left our cards. You can make a donation, and you can do that online. It's very simple. And what I like to tell people is there are, maybe 30 of y'all in here, 25? If each one of you went out and told somebody else about CASA's mission, that would be huge. So you can share our story. And then to become a volunteer, it's very easy to go onto our website. It's casagrayson.org, very simple. Or you can call us, like I said. You fill out the volunteer application, which can be done online or a paper copy, and complete a background check, and then complete the training, which Marla is going to tell you about. And then you're sworn in by a judge. Easy peasy, right? And then you can change a child's life. So truly, that is it. I just want to make sure that we touched on CASAs, get to know their children. They're required to see their children once a month. And that's really not a lot. A lot of our CASAs choose to see their kids more often than that, of course, because you develop a bond with your child. They reach out to everybody involved in the child's case so that they can report to the court. Marla can talk more about how frequent those court dates are, but generally you're in court for about 30 minutes. So it's not a huge time commitment. The time commitment of doing all the background research, reaching out to everybody who you need to talk to, seeing the child, can range anywhere from 3 to 10 hours a month. It depends. But those are the basics of what it takes to be a CASA. And Marla, if you want to tell them a little bit more about the training that is involved, I'm going to put this down because not everybody's as tall as I am. Marla?
Most people aren't.
Most people, thank you. Hi, my name is Marla Shaver. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about my CASA journey, if you guys don't mind, before I talk about the training. I started I'm going on 8 years. I was a CASA volunteer while I had a full-time job. I was the librarian at Tom Bean Elementary. And so it is possible, but after about 5 years in, I got a phone call one day from my CASA supervisor, and he was telling me that he was leaving and moving on to a different position. And I asked the question, so who's taking your place? And his answer was, well, I thought you would. And we laughed because he's a joke. He and I had a great relationship, and I just laughed at him. And anyway, we finished our conversation and we hung up, and I just couldn't let go of that phone. And I picked it right back up and called him back. I said, were you serious? And he said, yes. And so that's how I came on staff. And I've been on staff for coming up to 3 years now. So, but the time depends on your case. How many hours depends a little bit on your case. Our cases go through hills and valleys, as you can imagine. There's times when a lot of things are happening. That's usually closer to court. We're getting a lot of, And then there's valleys where things are just kind of moving along smoothly, not gathering a lot of information. Those times take a little bit less time, those months. And I will tell you, as far as me volunteering, my only regret, and I say this to everyone, is that I didn't do this sooner. So A little bit about the training. It is a 30-hour training. We do that on both online and in person. If you are someone who would have difficulty, this is a very easy program. If you are not tech savvy, I will sit down with you. We will go through it, and you will see that it is very easy, very user-friendly. But we meet generally 2 nights a week. It has been being like a Monday and a Thursday for about 3 weeks. We do like an in-person, and then between the 2 in-person, there's some online work. So that's how we get our total of 30 hours. And then afterwards, you are sworn in through the courts, and so made an officer of the court. Let's see, what else was I going to talk about?
The changeover.
The changeover, okay. We don't have a lot of information, but that changeover is going to be happening on Friday. That is this coming up Friday on March 1st is when the organization Empower will be taking over the conservatorship aspect of it. They'll be the placing agents, and they will also be the caseworkers will be working for Empower. So that's right now, as Maureen touched on that, we are going through, we've been doing this for a little while, losing several of the caseworkers and then they're hiring new ones. So our kids are right now going through a lot of changes. And we believe that it is so important right now for us CASAs to stand in that gap and to make sure that these kids don't get lost in all of that shuffle. That we stay with them. We can be there. We are their stability a lot of times. We're not sure what all the changes are going to bring, and we're just kind of flowing and learning as we go a little bit. Do you guys have questions? What questions can I answer for you? Yes, ma'am.
So if a child re-enters the system, say reunification fails, will they get the same CASA worker that they had before, or will they be assigned a new one?
That depends. Generally, what we would do is at the end of the case, a lot of times we'll say, if this child comes back in, would you like us to, because it does happen. It would depend on how many, if that CASA had the time, if they were already on a case. And so we would try to let that happen, again, because of the stability aspect. This is a face that they knew before. So I would say probably, but not necessarily, depending on the situation of the CASA at that time.
And that just leads me to my next question. What is the caseload of each CASA worker?
The caseload, at the beginning, you would be assigned one case. And you would work that. You would also be assigned a supervisor. We do not just say, we're training you, now, go and, we don't do that. You are assigned a CASA supervisor who will help you through that case. And, all of your cases. We do have some caseworkers, some CASAs who are more experienced that can take on more cases. 5 is the maximum that CASA allows. We have very few that ever take on that many. You will also be able to choose your cases. We have a little book that you would look through and read a little bit about the case. And usually those cases speak to us. And it may be where they're placed. It may be something within, the first time I ever took a teenager, I did not want a teenager. I was not taking a teenager. And I'm going through the book, and I keep flipping back, and I'm like, nope, she's still a teenager. And in the end, that is the case I took because I couldn't move past that one for whatever reason. But we do have you choose your own case.
Let me give a mic to people.
Okay.
Are you bringing up 4?
How many teenagers does CASA work with?
I do not have an exact number, but we do have children from birth. There are children who never get to go home. They're taken from the hospital and go straight into foster care. Mm-hmm. And we have kids all the way up to 18, and they can stay in if they choose to. They can remain in care until they're 21 to help them get on their feet a little more.
Do all teenage foster children have CASA volunteers?
They do not necessarily have CASA volunteers. At this point, not everyone, because like as Maureen said, we have 15 kids who are waiting for CASAs right now. Our supervisors are working some of those cases. But we do need volunteers and I don't know how many of those are actually teenagers.
The company that's taking over C.A.S.A, what are their qualifications?
I do not know that. I don't know the answer to that question. I apologize.
So we all know that our system is horribly, irrevocably broken nationwide. So what kind of training and continual training is done to help with burnout?
We recommend and support self-care. We believe that is one of the most, you'll hear us talk about that quite a bit. We do have continuing training. Our CASAs are expected to go through 12 hours of continuing training. We offer that in many different ways. We also, once you've finished your case, if you need to step off and not take another case for a couple of months, that's perfectly fine with us. As a matter of fact, we kind of encourage that. So,
Hold on. I also wanted to mention that we do trauma-based training, diversity, equity, and inclusion training. Yes. And then there is, of course, constant training going on. If somebody wanted to sit in on one of Marla's trainings again, they felt they needed a refresher, they'd be welcome to. Yes. And one more thing I forgot to add is that you triggered it, Shannon, with your question is there's burnout, and I've seen it with some of our volunteers, but then it's almost divine. Something will happen that will remind them of what they're doing and the importance, and they will be energized and re-enthused. And it doesn't happen all the time, but I'm just saying, I feel like there is a little bit of the divine that's involved. Sorry, yes. I didn't mean to steal.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I don't have a question, but this is just my observant stuff. First of all, on your CASA goals page, you misspelled involved. I can't help it. It bugs the heck out of me. So you might want to get that changed. Just so
we will work on that.
Two of the letters are diverse. But I was going to say, one of the things about this changeover to empower, I may or may not know from sources that I may or may not know, there's more than one company that's doing this across Texas. Yes. So it's kind of like a deal where they take bids and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, and as far as you were asking about training and stuff like that, well, primarily there's two strains with that. I mean, some of the people that they're hiring are people that already work for DFPS, and so obviously they're trained with whatever DFPS has. And then some of the people, maybe from other agencies, or they may be newer people, And they're supposedly, and this is what I've heard, or may not have heard, is they're supposed to be receiving, equivalent training to DFPS. You can make for what you want of that, but they are receiving equivalent. And the other thing that you should also remember, or you may or may not want to, is that it's not all of CPS that's transferring over. I think she said that, but the investigators are not transitioning out. That's still going to be a state function as far as we know now. Whether that makes a difference or not, I don't know, but it's important to be aware of that. And also be aware of the fact that, we as citizens, we can make comments about Empower as it goes along. It's important that, you talk to people like, CASA and other agencies and say, hey, I've noticed that Empower is not doing this right, and bring that up. Because the thing you got to remember is because it's, one of these deals where they, what am I trying to say? Fund it out to somebody else. I'm getting the wrong word today. They could change, so whether you want to make a good or a bad about that. And the only reason I may or may not be telling you this is because, I am concerned about lots of things that are going on in the world today. And so, and as far as CASA goes, I can say you that I may or may not have had a lot of contact with them over the years in other counties, and that it is a good agency. It does provide, a necessary step that we, really need for these kids. Because one of the things to think about is that a lot of our kids that you see that are in the county, that are abused are also our kids that have mental illness. They're also kids that are LGBTQI++. These are kids that, they need a lot of special care. And so I think of the CASA folks as just another buffer. It's just another thing to kind of support these kids, and maybe somebody come in there and say, like you were talking about, hey, I'm concerned about the fact that this child doesn't have enough clothing. Because sometimes, that may not be a thing that DFPS knows right away, and I'll have to see how things go with Empower and all that kind of stuff. So just think about it that way. You're right, the system is broken. It's been broken probably since before I was born. But that's just my opinion. Nobody has to agree with that. You don't have to agree with anything I'm saying. This is just a personal opinion. So just think of it that way. But I do appreciate, any time, we hear from people that talk about just the fact that we need to support these kids, because you're right. How are these children doing? Well, I can tell you, or may not can tell you, that they're not doing well. They're not doing well, and it is teenagers, yes, but it's also, like she's talking about, newborns. It's also, you're still getting kids born, with meth in their system when they're born. We're still getting kids, with alcohol in their system. So just, yes, it makes you cry and everything, but also think of it as a practical thing. Because people in the community can go out there and be trained, and they can see maybe something that we hadn't seen before. And I'm going to get off my soapbox, but I don't have a question, but I just wanted you to know that that's what I see.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to apologize if I misunderstood your question, because I was thinking in terms of the empowered leadership, and I really don't know what qualifies them. I was not thinking, so I appreciate that you said what you said about the caseworker training. No, I think it's pretty accurate, so I appreciate, and so I apologize to you for misunderstanding your question.
Is CASA available for all of the states?
Yes, I believe it is available in all states. Not all counties, because we have to be invited into the county by the judges. We can't just show up and say we're going to do this. Judge Perkins, I believe, is that correct? Brought us, is the judge that brought us to Grayson County. I believe his name was Perkins. But yes, it is available to all states and nationwide, just not all counties invite them in.
Do all of our district judges in this area work with CASA, or is it specific judges?
All three of our district judges are very supportive of CASA. At this point, we have Judge Cheryl Vaughn, who is our child protection court judge, and all she does is hear CPS cases. That's all she does. And but our other judges, sometimes they have to go to the district judges also. But yes, they are all very supportive of us.
When my husband and I were fostering only teenagers in Montana, that was before CASA, and it was the county social worker, caseworker that went with them to court.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We fill a roll call in Grayson County. It's called the guardian ad litem, and CASA fills that role here. So
we've got time for one more question, if there is one, because we're running a little bit long.
Are there men and women involved in CASA?
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that was a lot of good information, and I'm so grateful for y'all coming and sharing with us. For the gifts we have been given by Thomas Rhodes. Each week, we take up an offering for the support of this congregation, and often for the support of others who are working for a better world. To be honest, we need your support, especially in today's economy, when pledges are down and the future appears uncertain. But there is another truth here as well. Another truth that says some of us need to make an offering. Some of us need to make an offering, not only because the congregation needs our support, but because we need to remind ourselves of our own generosity. Because the act of giving something away is a tangible way of acknowledging the gifts we have been given. If we don't have enough of ourselves, we may be poor in material worth. But when we can't have enough to share, then we are truly poor in spirit. And none of us should leave this place feeling poor in spirit. The bowl awaits. If you will please join me in this wonderful song from Rent. The words are on the screen. Our Seasons of Love. 525,600 minutes. 525,000 moments so deep. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife. In 525,000
500,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life? How about love? How about love? How about love? Seasons of love, seasons of love. 525,600 minutes, 525,000 journeys to pain, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure the life of a woman? In truths that she learned, or in times that he cried, in bridges he burned, or the way that she died. The story that let's celebrate, remember, you in the life of ours.
I want to invite you to rise in body or spirit for the benediction and extinguishing the chalice. These hands connect us to one another. Become aware of the hands that you are holding, their warmth, texture, and weight. As an infant, these same hands reached out for the nourishment of milk. As a child, these hands shakily wrote a name on paper for the first time. These hands have wiped away tears, clenched in anger, waved hello and goodbye countless times, and embraced loved ones. And now these hands are the tangible link that connect us to one another. Look and see those around you who have experienced so much that is life. These hands have worked, are working, and will work to make the world a better place. Go in peace, go in love, work for justice. Go forth and bless the world. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.